It is the season of alignments and realignments politically, with claims that President Uhuru Kenyatta has assured of his support to the NASA coalition 13 months to the 2022 polls. His remarks come in days after ODM leader Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka hinted at working together again for 2022. ANC's Musalia Mudavadi says there is a trust deficit in the coalition. Tonight on Pundits Night, we interrogate coalitions and the 2022 interest. Good evening. I am Abu Bakr Abdullahi. Welcome to the broadcast. As always, your voice matters, so does your opinion counts. Keep talking to us. The hashtag to use is Pundits Night. Send us a message on 22047. Let me introduce our guests tonight, Professor Edward Kisiangani and Professor George Wajakoya, who are with me in studio. Professor Peter Kagwanja will be joining us on this program shortly. But first, good evening, professors, and thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, professors, it's only understandable that we start with the human point of what has happened today, which is the loss and the death of businessman Chris Kirubi and former game member of Parliament Jakoyo Midiwo. First, your thoughts. Wow. Professor George.
Jakoyo Midiwo was my student, and I'm just hearing it now. Is it true he's gone?
Yes.
I taught him in Form 5 and Form 6. Wow. Chris Kirubi is also a friend of mine. My condolences. But I'm shocked with the Jakoyo Midiwo's death.
All right, Professor Edward as well.
My thoughts and the prayers for Jakoyo. He's a great friend of mine. We have done a lot of debates several times on national television. He's a brilliant chap. I don't know what killed him. Death is very, very unfair. This is very devastating news. God rest his soul in eternal peace. And for Chris Kirubi, he has been a quintessential business person in this country, an example to many people who want to make things happen in their lives. It is very bad that we have lost him. He's a really example to what investment is all about. My heart goes out for him and his family, and all our prayers are for both of them.
All right, Prof, may their souls rest in eternal peace. Let's get to our topics of tonight's discussion, which is a panel of professors. And let's start with the latest. President Uhuru Kenyatta, at least as per claims today, has assured the NASA coalition of his support come 2022. This coming days after ODM leader Raila Odinga hinted at working together again with Kalonzo Musyoka. Professor Edward Kisiangani, let me start with you. Is this the revival of NASA, at least the talks of it?
Well, first of all, I can't authenticate what you are saying. I don't know whether the president said that or somebody has misquoted him. But given that the president has been supporting members of other formations apart from his, it won't be surprising that he is now switching off from his Jubilee to support another formation which did not elect him. But even if he has done that, it probably means that there are people who really want to resurrect NASA.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, NASA was a coalition of Musalia Mudavadi, Raila Odinga, Wetangula, and you know, now we have heard about Musalia, but probably we are still to get the concrete position of Kalonzo.
Mm-hmm.
For NASA to form, Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka, and Wetangula should be available to be cheated and misused for the second time.
Cheated and misused, you say. But nonetheless, Prof, why would a sitting president who is serving his 10 years once that term ends, on his own party, want to signal as though it has died?
I mean, the politics is about interests. People go into politics to pursue certain certain interests.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are long-term, some of them are short-term. I think President Kenyatta wanted to have a formation which would keep him in power in 2013, and he had to invite William Ruto with URP. But after that, he realized that probably that formation was weak. He wanted to strengthen it for 2017 to finish his second term. And that's how Jubilee became prominent. And so after 2022, he doesn't give a damn about Jubilee. He lost interest about Jubilee. His position was not to build a strong political party that would help people navigate through their problems, but his position was, let us get a formation that can help me enjoy power for 10 years, and after I finish, whatever happens, I don't care. So this is a politician who had a short-term interest to stay in power for 10 years, but after that, he doesn't care. There are other politicians who would want to build a movement that will stay, will endure, like the ANC in South Africa for many years. So that was not the making of our president. Our president had a different objective.
All right, let me bring in Professor George Wajackoyah to the discussion. Prof, at least Musalia is on record saying that there is a trust deficit in the coalition. Wetangula is also on the record saying this is a moribund coalition, which he promised of noise. Talking of the revival, Prof, is this the start of NASA again, a restart, or is it too late? 13 months to the general election.
While I'm taking the stand of my brother here on what he has said, agreeing with some of the things he has said, mine is a little bit of a deviation. A lot of blame is put on the president, yes, because he's the president of the nation. But what people are forgetting is that a lot of people who are close to him, the people who formed NASA, Jubilee with him, became fraudsters. They went opposite. Instead of going directly to where they were supposed to take the party with their policies, they started stealing. They brought in a lot of their cronies to loot from the government. We have seen projects that came in. We have seen how those projects were manipulated. We have seen how the same people went ahead and brought in the card of tribalism. We have seen how the same people have beaten the president hands down. When the president was trying to come in to fight corruption, the same people feigned tribal card, saying that, you know what, this man is targeting our tribe, he's sacking people from our tribe. And then the mismanagement of the economy was unbearable. What did you expect the president to do? Do you just have to blame him without also looking at the reasons why the party could have died? We as outsiders, looking at things objectively, and because I'm thinking from here, look at me properly, I'm thinking from here going that side. I'm not thinking from here going down, the Down syndrome, which engages corruption, which makes me speak with my mouth full of corrupt ideologies of having fed with corruption. And I'm not trying to say anything about my brother, I'm just speaking it.
Professor, but there's no exclusivity to all those claims that you have put forth. It is the Jubilee government, it is the president and his deputy who have been in power, at least who will be in power 10 years next year.
Can I just finish what I was saying? I was laying the foundation. And can I lay the foundation? Yes. The government was 50-50. Both of them, the president and the deputy president, did not actually tame their so-called appointees in the system. And I'm not singling out the deputy president alone. I'm also equally putting blame on the president. The two men were elected by Kenyans. They halved the government into tribal cocoons, 50 this way. And if you look at the people who came into the government, you can also see where they came from. They came in to loot the country. They came in with the tribal vendetta. But the president, on the other hand, had his hands tied by the so-called people that he trusted, people that he brought around, people who started fighting him, people who wanted to become the president. Let the world be told the truth. But my brother will
yes, but that is fine. To argue like that, I mean, I'm a bit surprised my brother can go that extent, because if you look at the formation of Jubilee, which was the dissolution actually of URP and also TNA, the president formed government and then brought in some Kenyans, assuming that what our brother is saying is that it's true, that there was corruption, there was tribalism perpetuated by both parties that came together to form Jubilee. Assuming that is correct, then some of those people have been thrown out of government. Has corruption come to an end? Has tribalism come to an end? In fact, we see a more perfect or refined form of corruption and tribalism than there was even when there was Jubilee. You look, recently we had a problem at KEMSA. And when the chairman of the bottom management of KEMSA, instead of being sacked for just taking responsibility, was transferred to another parastatal. Will you blame that to people who already left government because they were seen to be corrupt? I don't think that is really fair. The problem is,
but Prof,
the president.
Whereas you say that is not fair, Prof. What is fair to some degree will be corruption in this country has been a systemic challenge that has been within all the administrations that we have had so far.
You see,
that is a point of fairness.
It is true. It has been systemic. That's a fact. Nobody is disputing that. But once you are given the responsibility to take care of the country, like the responsibility the president took, you must have a strategy to solve the problem. You cannot say, like one time, I think what my brother is echoing is when the president said, "Mnataka nifanye nini?" This kind of thing is not what a leader should do. The president has mandate from the republic that he should solve our problems. So he must come up with a strategy. So if he asks to rule and make sure that there is fairness, there is no corruption in this country, then he comes back to us to say, "Mnataka nifanye nini?" Then why did he ask to be elected? That is the problem that we have. So in fact, every blame in whatever is happening, because I agree with him, there is tribalism, there is corruption, many things are not going right. Even the economy is bad. The buck stops with the president.
Fair enough, and we have quite deviated from the main focus area, which is the somewhat revival of the National Super Alliance, NASA. Professor George, let me come to you. Raila, when he was attending a burial in Ukambani of the former Kibwezi lawmaker MP, Kalembe Ndile, said, and I quote, "Mimi na Kalonzo hatuwezi kosana." Mudavadi has supported Raila twice in 2007 and 2017. It will need a balance of ego among these leaders of NASA of who to support first in 2022, will it?
Thank you very much for bringing that out, and quite agree also with what the last sentiments of my brother here. What I need to say, this mentality of who to support is what is killing us Kenyans. I'm running for president. I have a political party. Do you hear anyone talking about supporting Professor Wajakoya? None. Do I need to wait for them to support me to run for the country when I can convince Kenyans that I'm also capable of running for this seat? No. So this issue of everyone coming up and saying, "Oh, so and so should support here," Raila has said he's supporting Kalonzo, Mudavadi has said this. Those are stories. These people are brothers. At the end of the day, they meet, talk, and they are Kenyans. And that's the way they're used to doing their business. But this issue of saying now who is going to support who, me, I'm not seeking support from any of them. I'm seeking support directly from Kenyans by speaking to them and trying to tell them what I'm capable of. So these stories of coming up, and the media is the one that is fusing this kind of analogy, that so and so has to support so and so, so and so. Then the country is divided. This will divide the country left, right, and center. We shall still be in the same demagogic kind of
and Prof, it is primarily part of the reason as to why you are in media like this one, so that you also talk to Kenyans. But for purposes of fairness.
You see what my brother is saying is perfectly right. When people enter into coalitions, those coalitions are not about supporting somebody. They should be telling us they are entering a coalition around the issues. If you look at the way our politics is going, at least for the presidential candidates that have already declared they will run, except for one, the rest are saying so and so should support to so and so. Many of them are rushing towards President Kenyatta to endorse them. In fact, they are competing at the door Some have their shirts torn already as they compete to get the attention of the president to be supported. But when you ask them, after you have been supported, what do you want to do for Kenya? They have nothing to say about the economy. They have nothing to do to talk about our poverty levels, the fact that people don't have money, businesses have collapsed. Only one person is talking about that, William Ruto. So when will they start discussing the issues that have hit our country and stop talking about so and so, endorsing so and so? And you saw, even when they were talking about, when the Honorable Ngilu in that Kibwezi incident, when Honorable Ngilu stood to talk about people forming a coalition, she was categorical that if you don't form this coalition, Ruto will beat you. So their problem is Ruto. And therefore, their problem is not Kenya. So if their problem is Ruto, what business do we have about it? And Ruto's problem is Kenya, their problem is Ruto. So what are we going to do? We need...
And Prof, all politicians have in some way said that they will make Kenya a better place.
But which issues?
Mudavadi, for instance, has been, at least in the media and in many other forums, talking of the economy. Yes, 2022.
But does your mother and my mother understand what Mudavadi's economic thinking is about?
Given that he's promising to put money into Kenya's pockets, at least my mother
would understand. You have to have method. You can't just talk about these general issues. The economy has always been discussed from 1963. People who are buying even in villages, in constituencies, talk about the economy. But what is his economic strategy? We want to hear how he will make that money come to our pockets. He's not talking about it.
All right, Prof, I understand we also have Professor Peter Kagwanja, who is with us as of now. Prof, good evening. Thank you for your time tonight on TV 47. We are talking of coalitions ahead of the 2022 game plan and polls, and we are discussing the longevity of coalitions in this country, Prof. Is it not the case at best, Prof, that these coalitions are short-span political vehicles used or misused for gains rather than political parties and coalitions that are grounded on ideology?
I'll tend to agree with you on that. Kenya has parties that have the shortest mortality rate. In other words, our parties are formed before election, they die slightly after the election. So that is that's tragic in our politics. It reflects the political immaturity within our political elite, where matters are based on personal gains and interests rather than the interest of the nation. In other words, we don't have people labor a lot to have come up with manifestos, but these are just for the launch. If you ask what is in those manifestos, there's no difference between PNU manifesto or TNA manifesto or Jubilee manifesto or ODM manifesto in 2007 and ODM manifesto in 2017. There's very little difference because issues are not core. Let's face it, issues are not core to our political discourse.
Prof, are they not supposed to be core in our political discourse?
That's why we are talking about our politics being immature, because if it's mature, we'd be talking about issues that make parties different. Parties are supposed to be different because they are championing certain policy issues or certain orientation in ideology. But in our case, that's not the case. I assume that not only parties, coalitions are simply vehicles that are created to form governments of convenience. If you take the opposition, for example, we started with ODM as a coalition, then it became a party, then we had CORD as a coalition. Now we have the talk about NASA as a coalition, and I don't know what we are going to have in 2022. The same case with the Jubilee. You started off as a NAC coalition, then PNU coalition, then finally you come to the Jubilee coalition. Either way, what doesn't come clear is the difference between, for example, the ODM coalition and the PNU coalition, the Jubilee coalition and the CORD coalition, and so on. There's a lot of rhetoric, but I think we need to begin investing a lot as a country on the issues that we need to champion. I do recall when NAC was formed, it was very, very clear in its mind that it needed to have a new constitution, economic revival, and finally, anti-corruption, basically a clean government. Those were issues. And therefore, when you came to judge the NAC government, you would say you have succeeded in the economy, you have failed in the constitution, and you have failed in corruption. So you could judge them because they had clear issues.
All right, Professor Peter, let me interject you at that point. Professor Edward, let's now talk of the specifics and talk of core politics, and in particular in the Mount Kenya region. Will it be fair, Professor Edward, to say at least that there is a political turmoil in the president's political backyard if what happened in Juja and the politics of alignments and realignments of that region are concerned?
I think Ablai, and I want to acknowledge the contribution of my colleague, my classmate, Kagwanja. So he is very brilliant. So I'm happy about the fact that we are doing the debate together. He's called Ojwang, so don't worry about it. So, but what is happening in Mount Kenya? There is, I have seen people, rushing with the fire extinguishers to Mount Kenya as if there is a problem. There is totally no problem. And I think you are overstating things. Mount Kenya people are citizens. And they have a right to think how their future will be, what their governments should do to them. They don't have to fit into a certain framework that people have defined. So Mount Kenya people there are people there who have been very passionate about supporting the deputy president. There are others who have said no. That is a democracy, and we want people to come out to say, you don't want to argue that Mount Kenya is owned by one person.
But Professor, you say, let me interject you at that point. You say there is no problem, at least as per you, Prof,
yes.
in your own observation.
Yes.
But this is a region regarded as the president's political backyard. When the president loses in the entry constituency of that political backyard, you say there is no problem, Prof?
The president does not own Mount Kenya. Nobody owns any part of Kenya.
But he is at least the most influential politician from there.
He comes from there, but he doesn't own. He's finishing his term and he will go. You are not talking, President Kenyatta can't walk with Mount Kenya in his pocket. This thinking must stop in this country. It is frivolous, it is arid. We must stop this argument that when Musalia Mudavadi, for example, comes from Western, he owns that vote. People like Kagwanja who come from Mount Kenya are independent thinkers. They must be allowed to navigate through this.
Independent thinkers who have the option of supporting the president
or support somebody else. I don't know who he will support. But to think that because people are rebelling against the president, therefore there is turmoil. There is no turmoil. This rebellion is going on everywhere. In Rift Valley, there is a rebellion against Gideon Moi. Even in the Baringo County alone, he can't control it. In Western Kenya, there is also a rebellion of sorts against some people. This thing continues. If you go to Nyanza right now, you cannot say that Raila Odinga is as strong as he was maybe 20 years ago in Nyanza. There are pockets of rebellion. So you cannot continue with this discourse, this tired discourse, that because there is differences in opinion in Mount Kenya, therefore it is in turmoil. There is no turmoil.
All right, you say it is a tired narrative. I will ask Professor George if it is indeed one, but I understand we need to take a short break on Pundits Night. Stay with us. We will be back with this discussion and much more after this break.
The Home of Untold Stories. Rigorous soap opera about two lovers fighting against their relentless fate, which opposes them in the heist of murder, lies, betrayal, and secrets of those who claim to love them. Sylvia and Bruno Alvarado will do whatever it takes to get rid of anyone who interferes with their plans. The paths of Maya and Alberto cross under a devastating storm. Right there between the tempest, a love that will provide a strong reason to go on will arise.
Me llamo Mía. Le voy a dar algo. Para que lo cuide. De veras que le hace falta. Nos volveremos a encontrar.
Me llamo Alberto.
Oriana Roldan is between Maya and Alberto, a renowned bullfighter with a psychotic personality, willing to do anything to regain Alberto's love.
¡Te estoy hablando! Niña, suéltame, hermano, no, te estoy hablando!
So Much Love, Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. Only on TV 47.
Download the Zenka mobile app today from your app store and enjoy up to 0% and 61 days to repay your loan.
Changamka, cheza loto.
Halo, nataka box.
Box namba gani?
Namba 5.
And very good.